Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
We shall just give it a few minutes, as always, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Where is everybody from today? We have our chat here, so feel free to utilize that. Let us know where you're from. Baltimore, the Netherlands. How fun.
Hi, Lynn.
Germany. I'm in California. It's really hot here today. I'm sure it's just as hot where you are, Jacob.
Yes, if not worse, yes. I'm in Athens, Greece. We have about 37, 38 degrees Celsius day.
That's where I am. I think we're right at 40 today, so I will be melting later this afternoon.
It's hell on earth. It's hell on earth. I'm with the air conditioner right now. Otherwise, it's not possible to do this. It's not possible to work.
I agree. I feel that. All right, people are trickling on in, so we'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we will go ahead and get started here. I know everybody's super excited for today's session. We'll just give it 1 more minute, and then we can get started. You know, we've got a packed session today, so we'll make sure we utilize our time here. You guys, we're already in June. I feel like this year just has gone by in a blink of an eye.
It's so true.
Soon we're going to be complaining. Soon we're going to be complaining that it's cold and everybody's going to be wearing jackets. So enjoy the summer while we can. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. For anybody else who's not here, this is going to be recorded and sent over, so we can just start our session today. So greetings, everybody. Welcome and happy Tuesday. We're excited to have you guys join us for Transifex Masterclass session. Today's session will be led by our Customer Success Manager, Jacob. And aligned with Transifex's mission to help bridge that language barrier and empower you to engage the world, Jacob was going to guide us through a comprehensive tour of our Transifex Editor today. And we hope that this will achieve the mission of making this even more seamless for all of you here. So before we dive into the world of Transifex, remember that you can utilize this chat feature that we have here anytime. We'd love to hear about your experiences with our editor and address any questions that you may have. You can either use the chat, or we do have a questions tab here as well. If you use the question tab, it'll just make sure that we don't miss any of those questions. So feel free to chat away and ask away as well. And as always, like I just said in the beginning, these sessions are recorded and will be shared with you afterwards. So we understand your time is precious. And if at any point you do need to hop off, you'll receive that recording after this. So it looks like we are all set. And now let's go ahead and direct our focus over to Jacob.
Thanks so much, Veronica. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. And we're going to review the Transifex Editor today, which is the main working and focus area for translators and reviewers, while it's also used by other user roles for configuration, initiating tasks, actions, and for retrieving information. This is our agenda for today. I would basically broke down the editor into 5 areas: searching and filtering, which is a huge part of it. Translation options, obviously. This is one of the main things that you can do inside the Transifex Editor. We will see context features, bulk actions, and editor settings. Especially the last 2 sections should be real quick. At the end, we will sum up and open it up for questions. If at any point you have any questions, feel free to put it into our chat, as Veronica mentioned. And again, we'll try to answer all the questions. If I cannot answer, if I'm not able to answer any, we'll make sure to follow up with you, as we always do. So I would say let's jump right away into searching and filtering. And as you will see, today it's going to be mainly hands-on demo, so there is not much of a presentation. Basically, I will highlight the key takeaways and always, bridge with slides the next area of the editor. But mainly, we will work inside the Transifex Editor. So two main ways, let's say, to access the Transifex Editor. The first one is by choosing a project, going to resources. You can even access it from here, from Translate, but it won't be filtered by a specific resource or language. You can choose a resource. You can choose a target language. It opens up a window with information regarding this specific resource and language. And if you click on Translate, it will jump right away into the editor, and you will see at the top that it's already filtered by the selection you made. The second way to access Transifex Editor, the quicker way, let's say, from the left main navigation menu, there is the Editor button here. And since we did that without entering a project, obviously you need then to choose a project inside the editor, choose a resource or all resources, and then the target languages if you haven't set up a specific language, target language to appear. So this is how the Transifex Editor looks like. And let's start with searching and filtering, which is a huge part of it. So first of all, on the left side, you see the source strings, and on the right side, you see the translations. Right now, only strings 2 and 5 are translated. You see two very quick filters here at the top. So you can filter by untranslated strings. And if you're a translator, you know these are the strings I need to work on. Or if you're a reviewer, you can filter quickly by unreviewed. So these are the two translated strings that me as a reviewer, I need to focus on them and perform potential editing. So these are the two quick filters here. But you see many other filters here in the middle of the screen. And I would like to show you something else as well in terms of filtering. Right now, I chose the getting started the resource, but there's also an option to say, I want all resources to appear. And look what happens while text is right now the first filter. If you filter by all resources at the top, you see another filter called resource. The reason we implemented this is from this menu point, from this filter, you can basically filter by specific resources. So you can say, I want to display all the strings that belong to these two resources. Very common use case. Imagine you're localizing your help center, your documentation. So every article might be one resource. You might end up with hundreds of resources. And there will be never, most likely the case that you have to translate either only one or all of them. Most likely you will have 5 new articles, for example, which results to 5 resources, and you want to localize, you want to translate only these 5. So from this filter, you can choose the desired one, and then it displays all the strings that belong to these two resources. As you can see, whenever you choose a filter, it gets filled here in the search bar, and by clicking on the X, it basically removes the filter and goes back to default. Some important filters here. You can filter by text in the source or in the translation. By status, translated, reviewed, or proofread to have the strings displayed that have this status. Tag, here very important. We support both the AND and the OR function when searching for tags. So with AND, it displays strings that match all selected tags, while with if you choose OR, it will display strings that match any of the selected tags. And just to demo it, if I choose that I want test1 and locked_CS tags, all the strings that have these tags to appear, I can click on apply. You see that it changes here and it filters by my choice. And I have this string returned, which actually has both tags. And just to remove this and just to demo also the OR option. So I can say I want strings that have either test_1 or test_2 as tags. I apply the filter and I will get the selection back. So tags, another filter. Then users, you can filter by translator, reviewer, specific one, and you display the strings that they've worked on. Date, also very important, translated, reviewed before and after, and source updated before, after. Imagine you have a continuous localization process and you want to share with your LSP or create a task for every source string that was updated, let's say after May 1st and before May 31st. So this string was this string was updated in between this period. And what is very important to know, whenever you choose a filter, you see that the URL changes. Basically, it applies the filter, which means that this URL is shareable. You can copy paste it somewhere, and anyone who has access to this project and to this language will be able to open it and perform the task that he or she has been assigned to. So the URL is shareable. This is very important. Some other important features, you can filter by issue, if it's open or resolved. I will show you issues in a while. Issue priority, a filter that we introduced last week. You can, for example, filter by critical or blocker issues and display the strings that need immediate attention. You can filter by pluralized strings, for example, to see if all the plural forms have been translated. With strings that have screenshots. And under more, you have some more filters. The most important ones here that I would like to highlight are the origin. You might want to see strings that have been autofilled by Transifex AI. So you would choose origin AI. The same goes for if you want strings that were machine translated by DeepL, autofilled, you simply choose empty DeepL and it returns this selection. So origin is a very important feature, a very important filter. And then repeated strings. So if you want to find all the strings that are repeated plus the initial version, you can filter by repeated strings. You see, for example, here integration twice, duplicate twice, and so on and so forth. Again, this filter returns both the original string as well as the repetitions, no matter how many there are. And TM fill-up leverage greater than or less than. So as you know, we have translation memory, fill-up, and we also have a feature called fuzzy match, which is basically you can set up on a project level a threshold between 90 and 99%. So whenever there is a TM match, let's say above 95%, you can say, or below 95%, you can say, do auto-populate this translation. And then you can instruct your translators, your reviewers, basically, to perform targeted editing. So they could filter by TM fill-up leverage less than 95%, as in our example. And it would display only these strings. So you can perform targeted editing if needed. Something else I want to highlight here, apart from the filters, the sorting options, obviously. So there is a default that sorts the strings with the order they appear in the resource file, but you can also sort by translation updated, source string updated, ascending, descending, and source string word count. With that, we conclude the searching and filtering. Just to highlight here, and going back to our presentation, the key takeaways, things that we would like you to remember. First of all, filters help you perform a more targeted and efficient search. And we saw that you can combine filters, and it helps you narrow down your string list to perform an even more efficient search and take potential actions. And the last thing, you saw that the URL, basically, whenever you apply a filter, is shareable. So you can paste it, you can send it to someone, and if this person is part of the team and part of this language, they will be obviously able to open it and perform the task that they have been assigned to. Let's open it up for some questions before we move. Are strings a collection of, let's start from the bottom. Can you view multiple languages of the same key below each other, or do you need to edit each language separately? Yes, thank you for the question, Lead. Great question. Basically, you can filter only by one language at a time. So if you want to, for example, to see the German strings, you need to filter by German. If you want to see the Czech, for example, translations, you would filter by Czech. There is no option to see multiple languages close to each other. But by the way, this is something that we received as a feedback in the past. So I know that there is an internal ticket, to be considered in the future. I hope this answers the question. Are strings a collection of keys, or how would you describe it? So a string is like a sequence of characters. A string could be one word. It could be one sentence, so many words in a row. Basically, the way you upload your source file, I've seen strings with, I don't know, more than 1K characters, so really like long form texts, which is obviously not very easy then for the translation team to deal with them. But yeah, again, a string could be a word, it could be a letter, it could be a sentence. And I hope this answers the question. And Amit asks, can we translate a set of strings in multiple languages at once? Not manually, if you're referring to manual translations, Amit. So in the translation box that I will show you, of course, right away, here, if you perform a translation, it will be only a translation for German. Obviously, if you have machine translation fill-up enabled, or translation memory fill-up, or AI fill-up, you can define, you can configure in which languages you want this feature to apply. So if you say, I want AI fill-up to fill all the languages that I have, yes, it's automatically done for all languages, but manually, you can only perform translations in a single language. But it's pretty easy to switch from the menu at the top and switch to the other language right away. I hope this covers the question as well. And I would say let's proceed to the next breakdown of the Transifex Editor, which are the translation options, right? So translation does not necessarily equal localization, but obviously I would say you cannot have localization without at least a translation. So translation options that we offer inside the Transifex Editor are manual translation, machine translation, translation memory, TM, and Transifex AI. And I would like to show you all of them. So basically, in the middle of the screen, you have the translation box. So if I want simply to type a translation for the string, I could simply write it here, and then I would go to Save Translation, for example. And you can see whenever there is an untranslated string, you see that the indicator is a gray circle. If it's translated, it's a green dot, a green circle. And then if I'm a reviewer, I perform potential editing, I review the string, it changes to a check mark. And if you have also the proofread step in your workflow and somebody proofreads the string, the indicator would be two double checks. So let me revert back the actions I just did. So this is the translation box where you can manually type translations. Other options you have here is to copy the source string. So if for whatever reason you want it one to one to be copied over, you can use this one. You can revert translation, and it switches back to the last translation you had. And we also support special characters depending on the languages. So this is how you can perform manual translations. Then we have machine translation, which is the icon MT. So if I run it, it obviously translates the string, and I have still the option to edit it and save changes. So this is considered human work. This is considered manual work. If I would filter in the editor afterwards for origin, I wouldn't go to MT DeepL. No, I would go to editor, because me as a user, I chose to run MT, and I can still, again, process and edit and save the changes. So this is considered human work, although I used MT. Obviously, if you have machine translation fill-up enabled from the project settings, all untranslated strings you see here would be automatically translated. Another option is obviously Transifex AI. So this is the option where we can run it manually again. So if I run it, it will auto-populate the translation. If I click, I can still perform edits, and I can click on Save Translation, which means this is again considered human work, though I utilized AI for the output, for the translation output. And again, if you enable AI fill-up from the project settings, every untranslated string will be auto-filled by AI, and therefore the translation origin will be AI Transifex in this case. Something else you can do with AI, you can click on it, it auto-populates the translation, and if you click again, you have some more options. You can rephrase it, enhance SEO, and shorten it, and finally say, I want to use this version of the string. So this is how Transifex AI works. The last option, TM, translation memory. So the idea again here is On the right side, there is a suggestions tab. And whenever a string has been translated in the past and there is a similarity match, there is a TM suggestion, you will see it here. You can have as many suggestions as you want here, as many they are. Right now for this string, for example, there is a 101% match. This is the so-called context match, both source string and context match in this case. So if I'm a translator and TM autofill is not enabled, when I look and I see a 101% match, what I can say is, I want to use this TM suggestion. So I click on it, it gets populated in the translation box, and I can save it. Again, this is manual work because I had to click on use this. I can perform edits and can click on save translation. Again, if I have TM fill up enabled, and in this case specifically TM context match, this 101% would be auto-populated here without me having to do anything. And then the origin in terms of filters would have been TM. So this is how the TM suggestions work in this case. And these are mainly the translation options we support through the Transifex Editor. So switching back to our presentation, the key takeaways from this area, obviously translations are a necessary localization step, and we just showed a variety of translation options depending on the desired speed, quality, automation, and workflow. So if, for example, you would prefer, you have some low quality localization content where quality doesn't really matter, and you want speed and automation, I could see a use case that says enabling MT fill up or AI fill up, have it all immediately translated and pushed into your code. If you have only humans working on translations and reviews, obviously the manual translation box and utilizing all the features and other translation options I just showed you can be leveraged. Or a combined workflow like using AI fill up as a first pass and then have a human post-editing step. So they would review, they would perform the necessary editing and review. Let's open it up for a few seconds for potential questions, and we can move ahead to the context features. So the next area in our webinar in the Transifex Editor are the context features. And again, we'll jump right away to demo. We highly recommend, obviously, to provide as much context as possible to your translation team, because by leveraging context, they will definitely perform better, they will perform best, and they will provide translations of high quality in your, your desired translations, let's say. So let me show you how you can see, how you can configure certain context features, and we'll start with the style guide. So at the top right corner, you see how the translation team and everyone in the editor get exposed to the style guide. If you have configured a style guide, which is basically like a document where you can provide information about your company, your product, the tone and the voice you want to have in your translations, but also more technical things like how you want numbers, currencies, and dates to be treated. You can include them all in the style guide. There are formatting options, and then me as a translator, for example, I can jump to the appropriate area, see how you have configured it, and adjust accordingly. So this is the style guide. String instructions, you see here. Let me choose the second string because, yeah, I remember correctly. There is I added a string instruction here. This is a menu button. So these string instructions help basically provide more context to the translator so they understand what they're translating at that moment. And obviously, this is a free text field, so you can fill it up with anything you want, as much text as you want. And how to do that? You see the edit context option here. If you click on it, this is the field where you can add string instructions for this specific string. Again, free text field. You can put a URL. You can put as many instructions as possible with the aim for the translator to perform best on the translation output. Another thing you can do, I showed you how you can filter by tags. This is a place where you can add, basically, where you can apply a tag on a string level to group them together, basically, right? Like tags let you group a set of strings within a resource in any way you like. For example, you can use them to specify where certain strings came from, or prioritize strings for translation by using a tag called urgent, right? This would be a use case why to use tags. And character limits. Depending on what you're translating, you might need to keep a translation within a specific character limit to not break the user interface. Think of Think of menus, of buttons, or mobile apps where space is constrained. So this is the place where you can apply character limits. I think I prepared one string. Yeah, it's a string called integrations. And as you can see here, you see two indicators, two numbers. The first one shows the character limit that I have configured, 12. It shouldn't exceed 12. And the next one shows the translated character. So right now it's 0 because there is no translation. If I machine translate this string, as you can see, it actually exceeds the character limits that I set. So it's there are 13 characters. It would break the app, in my opinion. So I would not proceed, and I wouldn't be able even to proceed. So if a translator goes and tries to save the translation, they will receive a translation check, an error that says the translation is too long. It should have fewer characters. So at least at this point, they should see this indication and adjust accordingly. So let me remove this and also refresh the page so we don't see all the time the red error. Character limits. So another thing is screenshots. As you can see here, whenever a string is assigned to a screenshot or tags, there is also an indicator here, a small icon. So this string has tags assigned, and this one is mapped on screens. You see the screenshot area here. So if someone uploaded a screenshot, you will see it here. And the idea is that you can leverage, as a translator or reviewer, you can leverage context around the string that you are translating. So right now, the string that has been mapped is this upper one, but I still can leverage context from below in order to provide a better translation, a translation of high quality. So this is the benefit of having screenshots. And we recently, I think it was last week, we introduced the ability to drag and drop or upload screenshots from your local machine directly through the editor, because usually the entry point, the configuration point, let's say for a screenshot, is outside the Transifex Editor. But we listened to your feedback, and right now there is the option to immediately do it through the editor. You also see a pencil icon on the screenshot. If you click on it, you can even map strings into the screenshot to make it even more clear to the translator, hey, this is a string that you're translating right now. And obviously, they can leverage, as we said, context around that. Another feature, comments and issues, and I know that some might say this is more considered as a communication feature, but I have seen cases where it was also used for providing context. The main idea, though, for comments and issues, if you want to add a comment to a string, you can simply tag someone, specific user. You will see their username in a dropdown, and then you can say this is a test comment. This person, this user, will get notified both via in-app notification and email. So this is the comment, and a comment could be anything, right? It could be, hey, there is something wrong with the translation. Hey, there is something wrong with the source. Add issue is another option. Here you can define even the priority, if it's low, normal, high, critical, or blocker. And again, the idea is the same. You tag someone, you type a message, and this person gets notified via in-app and email notification. The difference between comments and issues, an issue has to be resolved. So once it's answered, you can click on resolved. You always see a history here from the previously opened comments and issues. And again, you can even utilize issues to notify, hey, there is something wrong with the translation, with the source, whatever, basically. Anything you want someone to, anything you want to highlight to someone. And the last thing, which is not a context feature, but I thought this is the best place to, since we are talking about here comments and issues, we are in this area. We saw the suggestions tab. There's a history tab that shows you actually the whole event that a string went through, right? All actions that a string went through. So who uploaded it, when, how, who performed translation, review, proofread, who deleted the translation. Every action that a string goes through is captured in the history of each string. So this is why you see here 251. So I played around a lot with this string. With that, I think we pretty much covered the majority or the most important context features. So switching quickly back to our presentation, I kept a slide. Now, we had a webinar related to context features 2 quarters ago, and I kept the same slide that showcases the benefits of context feature, because I think it summarizes it very well for all the parties involved. So for the companies, for example, for you who perform localization, context features, provide an efficient workflow, consistent brand messaging. Cost savings, obviously, because the more context you provide, the more accurate, the more qualitative will be the end result of the translation. So you have to pay less for edits, and obviously improve collaboration. The more context you provide, the better the collaboration between the relevant teams. For the translation team, obviously enhance context understanding because they know what they're translating. They have all the context they need to perform high. Increase productivity. They don't need to stop their localization workflow translations, ask questions all the time to the project maintainer or a higher role, but they have all they need to be productive. And quality assurance, better quality assurance and less QA, because again, we're talking about good quality, good performance, so less quality assurance, or more targeted, if you want, quality assurance. And for the audience, so for your for the end user, let's say, that get exposed to the localization efforts, obviously culturally relevant content, which leads to a more personalized user experience, which then leads to faster adoption. Let's open it up for a few seconds for potential questions, and then we can move to the bulk actions. Okay, bulk actions. We can cover this very quickly. And of course, let's jump right away into the demo. So we do support bulk actions, and I'd like to show you all of them very quick. If you choose one string, you see that the right side of the screen changes. So you can choose multiple, or you can select them all. And what happens then is, first of all, you see how many strings there are and in how many source words these strings get translated. And the options you have, first of all, to create a task. So if you want to assign a translation job or a review a job or both of it to your team, this would be the entry point to create a task. I will not show how the task is being created, not the whole thing, because this was done during the last quarter in a dedicated webinar. But the main idea is that you can choose if it's a translate, review, or proofread task. You choose if it's going to be performed by humans or Transifex AI. Give it a name, priority, optional description, and if it's done by humans, also a due date. And if you click next, you can assign it to specific collaborators or the whole team of this project for this language. And yeah, these people will get notified and can perform the task. But the main thing is here, I wanted to show you how you can actually create, how we can start creating a task from the bulk actions. Other actions you can do, you can mark selections as reviewed, unreviewed, proofread, or unproofread in bulk. You can machine translate all the strings. And again, this would be manual work because me as a translator, let's say I used machine translation and I will be able to edit and save the translations afterwards. So this is not empty fill up. Again, this, if I choose this one, the origin, the translation origin would be Transifex Editor with my name as a user, right? It's not empty fill up. You can copy source strings to target language. And here you can basically define what should happen with the already translated strings, like string number 2 and number 5. Should it skip copying or replace it with the source? You can download strings to a CSV file if you want to, for any reason, to work offline on them. There is a find and replace action. For example, if I want to find all the strings that says integrations and I want to replace this with something else, this is the feature where you can do so. I showed you before how you can apply character limits on a string level, and here you can do it for multiple strings. The same for string instructions to multiple strings if desired. Zapier task, this is basically our integration, Zapier Jira integration. For anyone who is interested to use it, feel free to check our documentation, help.transifex.com. You can, from here, you can add, edit, or delete tags in bulk. And the last bulk option you can perform is to delete translations at one go. So no need to go string by string and delete them. You can delete them in bulk from here. So these are all the bulk actions we support. And switching to our presentation, just to highlight the key takeaway, obviously only one here, bulk actions speed up the localization process, save time and maintain consistency by providing the ability to perform the same action for multiple strings. Again, let's open it up for a few seconds for questions. And the last thing I want to present in a few moments are the editor settings. And then we can open it up for all kinds of questions you might have. And by the way, thank you for the questions you already asked. So, editor settings, only two things to highlight here. The editor settings are basically at the top right. It's the hamburger, the three dots. If you click on them, the two most important options here are keyboard shortcuts. So we do support several keyboard shortcuts. We understand that translators or reviewer, but mainly translators, like to to have their hands all the time on the keyboard and not necessarily stop to grab the mouse. So there's a variety of keyboard shortcuts we support. The only, let's call it, downside is that it's not customizable, right? So you cannot create your own or modify the existing ones. So if you want to use them, you need to adjust to them. Obviously, we have received the feedback to offer a customization option. We're not yet there, but yeah, the more, let's say, we receive this request, I guess the higher the probability that we will implement it. But yeah, this is one important here, editor setting. And the other one, the editor preferences. And you see around 10 options here. I will not highlight all of them, but just the most important ones. First of all, you can pre-select the language. For example, you can say, I want German DE to be always present when I open the editor. There's a drop-down where you can choose other languages from this project. Enable row editor mode, very important. The default mode of the Transifex editor is the so-called rich mode. So in the rich mode, it's easier to work when you're a translator and you want to focus on translation and context, hiding and protecting all technical details that usually don't offer any value to the localization process. But still, there might be some cases where you want full access to the exact source string as this is stored in the database. So to view the source string, for example, without the placeholders for variables and HTML tags, you can enable the row editor mode. We then have the offer to display spaces, which basically does what you can also do in Microsoft Word, where you can see a small dot appearing as a space between two words to distinguish them better and prevent double spacing. There is the option to increase the font size. As you see, whenever I click it, it increases basically the font size of both source and translation strings. And for whoever prefers to work in dark, we definitely support the dark mode. From the right side, the only two options I would highlight: enable video editor. So if you are translating subtitles, so you uploaded an MP4 file and the SRT file that goes with it with subtitles, you can enable the video editor, and there will be a small preview window here from where you can see basically part of the video where the string appears, again, to utilize more context. And the last thing, the show character counter, which is basically what I showed you before, relevant to the character limits. So you see the source character counter and the translation character counter if you enable it from here. The rest of the options are somehow self-explained. So to show translations, for example, as you can see, if I disable it, they disappear. And to show the full strings, if it's a long string, for example, it would be limited. Or to truncate long strings, again, if you have like a string of 1K characters, it will be limited, and there will be a show more option to expand it. So again, most of them are self-explainable, but I wanted to highlight the most important ones. And obviously, as a key takeaway from the editor settings mainly improve efficiency and, as we saw, visualization while working with the Transifex editor. We saw the increased font size, the dark theme, the displaying spaces. With that, we finally got to our recap. So just to summarize, we broke down the Transifex editor in 5 areas and presented searching and filtering to work more efficiently. And we saw also how to combine filters to narrow down results and how to share the URL once you applied the desired filters. We discussed about translation options. We saw the manual translations, machine translation, AI, and translation memory. We presented the most important context features and highlighted their importance as they help the translation team to provide the best translation output / quality. And finally, we presented all available bulk actions that help speed up the localization process and save time by utilizing the same action for multiple strings. And some more editor settings at the end and preferences, as we said, for efficiency and better visualization. So I really hope you liked it. I know it was a lot, but trust me, we have covered the whole Transifex Editor, so there are no hidden areas that we didn't mention. I would say let's open it up for questions, if you have any, and we would be more than happy to answer them. You're welcome, Lynn. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you, Jonas. Really grateful to have you here, guys. This wouldn't be possible without you. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for the questions so far. Really good questions, valid questions. And I believe, Veronica.
Yes, I am
you
here.
Opened up a poll.
Yes, so thank you so much for a detailed guide in the editor, Jacob. Wonderful presentation. For all of you that are still here, we appreciate all of you staying with us during this session. Before we hop back to our normal everyday work, please take a quick minute to fill out this poll. So you guys should be able to see that and be able to submit your votes here. This really just helps us understand a little bit about how we're doing and making sure that we're hitting the goals that we're trying to achieve here. So additionally, after this, you guys will also get an email with the survey for how we're doing. Please let us know and let us know what types of events you would like to see in the future. And I just want to make sure, like as people are typing stuff like that, don't forget, if you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out to our support team. You guys can either send a quick email or you can chat with us using the widget in the editor there. And we also have our Transifex community forum. Please be sure to make yourself a part of it, make your voice be heard, learn how others are utilizing Transifex, and share your experiences. Also today, we are actually doing some very exciting stuff in our community forum. We're starting a brand new Did You Know series. This includes helpful insights and hidden gems on how to utilize Transifex. Be sure to check that out today and let us know what you think about that. So let's just double check. I want to make sure that we didn't miss anything here. It looks like all questions are answered. So again, if you guys have a moment to, please feel free and take that poll there. But if we have no other questions, that's all we have for today. So we'll cyber see you guys at our next session, which will be next Tuesday again at this time. We are going to go over our customer success manager, Ryan, will be going over enhancing translation quality and advanced translation checks. So that should be an exciting series. Make sure if you guys haven't signed up for that already, you can do so. You'll get email reminders, all that kind of good stuff, but it'll be next Tuesday, same time again. All right, well, let's just make sure we don't have any other lingering questions or anything like that. Looks like we are all good. Alrighty, well, thank you everybody so much for your time. Thank you, Jacob. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you all here next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.